Today we're going to be talking about medians and centroids, which are special parts of a triangle. So what is a median? A median is a segment that joins the vertex or corner of a triangle to the midpoint of the opposite side. Now, because there are 3 vertices and 3 sides to every triangle, there are 3 medians in every triangle. The 3 medians of a triangle intersect at a point called the centroid. They want us to look at this image here and list the parts of triangle ABC. So first they want us to list the medians. The medians of triangle ABC are segment AE right here. We have BF, which is right here. And finally CD, which is of course right here. Now, the reason I know that these 3 segments are the medians of triangle ABC is that points D, E, and F are all midpoints. And again, that information is given to me by the tick marks. So we have the one here showing that segment DB is congruent to segment DA. We have the pair here showing that segment BE is congruent to segment CE. And finally, we also have this pair here that shows us AF is congruent to FC. Now, next they want me to name the centroid of this triangle. And of course, the centroid, as defined here, is where the 3 medians of a triangle intersect. So if we look at our triangle where all 3 lines intersect, it is here at point P. Now, number 3 here asks, what special properties exist for each median? Now, there's not anything indicated in the triangle that would help us out here. So we just want to let ourselves know that the longer portion of the median, which is from the vertex to the centroid, so that would be from B to P, A to P, or C to P, that portion of the median is twice as long as the shorter portion of the median. So from P to F, P to E, and P to D. Another way to look at it is that if AP is 2 units long, then PE is only 1 unit long. So let's look at this mathematically. To do that, we're going to focus on segment AE right here. It works the same for all of them, but we're going to represent the properties mathematically, focusing on segment AE. Now, the longer portion of segment AE is going to be segment AP right here. That's our longer portion. And then our shorter portion is going to be from P to E. So in this example, if AP were equal to 2 and PE were equal to 1, then AP is twice the length of PE. Or you could say that PE is half the length of AP. So again, let me go ahead and represent that mathematically. So looking here at our formulas, we see that AP is equal to 2 times PE, or again, AP is twice the length of PE. And here we have PE is equal to 1/2 of AP. You can also represent that as PE is equal to AP over 2. Now again, this applies to all medians. So again, we could say that BP is 2 times PF. We could say that PD is 1/2 of PC. So any of those would also apply. So that's the mathematical representation of the median portions compared to each other. So the longer portion related to the smaller portion, or the smaller portion related to the larger portion. But what if we need to compare a smaller segment, either the larger segment or the smaller segment, to the whole? Well, if, for example, AP were to equal 2 and PE were to equal 1, then the length of AE would be 3 units. So if AE is 3 units and PE is 1 unit, then that means that PE is 1/3 the length of AE. So if the shorter segment from the centroid to the edge is 1/3 of the total median, which is AE, from vertex to edge, then that means the longer segment, in this case AP or PA, is going to be 2/3 of the total length. So we'll represent that mathematically very similarly. So we're going to say that AP is equal to 2/3 times AE. Go ahead and pause here and ensure that you have this copied. All right, so now we're going to do some practice problems. Let's look at number 1. If P is the centroid of triangle JKL, JK is 22, KN is 13, and OL is 18, find each measure. So first of all, we want to go ahead and mark our congruent segments. So because we know P is the centroid, that means KO, JN, and LM are all medians. So what that tells me is that JM and MK are congruent. We now also know that KN and NL are congruent. And we know that OL and JO are congruent. So now we can use that information to find the different lengths. So it asks us first for KM. Well, KM is half of JK. So if JK is 22, then KM is 11. Next up, it wants me to find NL. NL is congruent to KN, so therefore it is 13. KL is KN plus NL, and again, those are both 13, so KL will be 26. OL is 18, therefore JO is also 18. And again, for the total side length there, we're going to get 36 because 18 plus 18 is 36. Pause here for a moment to ensure this is copied into your notes. Number 2 says, if Z is the centroid of triangle TUV, TZ is 60, XZ is 28, and WZ is 25, find each measure. So again, they gave me TZ, which is part of a median. They gave me XZ, which is a part of a median. And they gave me WZ, which is also part of a median. And we know they are medians simply because they told us that Z is the centroid. So we don't really have to mark anything else other than the fact that we know Z is the centroid. So let's go ahead and look here. They want us to find the length of ZV. So that's going to be part of segment XV. Now they tell me that XZ is 28 and XZ is the smaller section of our median. So that goes from our centroid to the edge. So that means it is half the length of our longer segment, which is from Z to V, and that's what we're looking for. So if we take 28 and multiply it by 2, we're going to get 56. Next, they want us to find ZY. Now we can see here that ZY is related to TY, and it is the smaller segment of the median. They tell me that TZ is 60. So since that's the longer segment of median TY, I will divide that by 2, and I will find out that ZY is 30. Up next is ZU. ZU is the longer segment of median UW, and so that indicates that we need to take WZ, which is the smaller portion, and they tell us that is 25. So if WZ is 25, we multiply that by Z by 2, and we get that ZU is going to be 50. Okay, then they want me to go ahead and find TY. TY is ZY, which is 30, and TZ, which is 60, added together. So that must be 90. And then XV is XZ plus ZV. So we have 28 plus 56, and that will give us 84. Pause here for a moment and make sure you have this copied down. Number 3 tells us that if G is the centroid of triangle ACE, AG is 8, GF is 7, and BG is 5, find each measure. Now again, they're giving me information. AG is part of a median, as is GF and BG. So we know we're going to be focusing on the medians. So the first piece of information they want is GD, and look here, they give us AD right after it, so that's convenient. So the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and label median AD. Now the information that they give us that is relevant is that AG, the longer segment, is 8, which means the shorter segment is divided by 2 and is therefore 4. And then when we add 4 and 8, we get 12. Up next is CG. CG is part of median CF. They tell me that GF is 7, and that is my smaller segment of the median from the centroid to the edge. So because they give me the smaller section, I'm going to multiply that by 2. And I'm going to get that CG is equal to 14. And finally, they ask us for GE and BE. So I'm going to highlight BE here. And they give me in my information here that BG is 5. If BG is 5 and it is the smaller section of my median, then GE, which is the longer section, must be 10. And the entire length of the median, therefore, would be 15. Pause here for a moment and make sure that you get this copied down. On this last problem here, they tell us again that which point is our centroid, and that is going to be X. If X is the centroid of triangle RST, TU is 27, SW is 18, and RV is 21. Find each missing measure. So again, they have given us information about the medians, and they want us to find the rest of the information. So they tell me that TU is 27 units, and then they want me to find TX and XU. So now we are comparing the median to the portions, or the portions to the medians. So TX is going to be 2/3 of 27, and XU is going to be 1/3 of 27. Now, you can either take 27, multiply it by 2/3, or you can take 27 and divide it by 3 to get XU, and then multiply that by 2 to get TX. So let's go ahead and do the second strategy on these first two. So XU, we're going to take 27 and divide it by 3. That means XU is 9. And if XU is 9, then that must mean that TX is going to be 18. Up next, they want us to find SX. SX is part of the median SW, which they give to us as 18. SX is the longer portion. XW is the shorter portion. So for this one, we're going to do it with the fractions. Okay, so SX is 2/3 of SW, which is 18. And if we take that and run it through our calculator, we're going to get 12. Okay, we could again either divide the 12 by 2, or again, we're going to continue with the fact that we're using the fraction. So 1/3 of 18, 18 divided by 3 is 6. And finally, our last median that they gave us is going to be RV. And they told us that RV is 21. They want us to find RX. RX is the longer segment of median RV. So we're going to take 2/3 and we're going to multiply it by 21. And even though it doesn't ask us for this information, since we know that our x is 14, we can say that xv is 7. All right, guys, so that's the end of these notes. Please make sure you've answered any questions that are on the side and copied the notes into your version of these notes so that you can use them on your test.